so hot off the press, I've got the brand new Temprid 75 label, which was approved 10th of February this year. Jeff, if I open up and have a look on the first page, see if I can see any differences straight away.
Hope so.
The rate table looks a hell of a lot cleaner. All I'm seeing is 10 mil per litre of water at the moment. Now, from memory, I believe there was 2 different rates in there. 50 mil per 5 litres of water over 100 square metres, non-porous surfaces. Porous surfaces, 50 mil into 10 litres per 100 square metres, and that's a lot. That's a big mouthful, isn't it? And right here, all we have is 10 mil per litre. Are you able to explain that a bit?
Yeah, look, consistent with what we did with the Suspend Flex label, try to remove some confusion. If those that have read the recent article I put in PPM will notice that we put a real focus on trying to make the product more relevant and more realistic in terms of the way it's used. And what we've done with Flex and now with Temprid is to remove the porous, non-porous comments in the directions for use table and put it into the application area later in the label. And as well as that, we've suggested it as a guide only. Because what was said in that article that I wrote was that as pest controllers, we don't mix up 2 tanks. We don't mix a tank for porous surfaces, mix a tank for non-porous surfaces. We mix 1 tank and we go and adjust the application rate as we do the job. And I think this label, and indeed the Flex label before it, reflects that a lot better. So now we're about putting 10 mils per litre in a litre of water with Temprid and then applying it to the surfaces, adjusting how much we apply to that surface based on its porosity.
Not exceeding the point of rubber.
Exactly.
So that's really the point that we want to make, just to make it a lot easier to interpret these labels and make sure that we've got 1 mix rate. And what a lot of good applicators do on the fly, they don't even realise, is that they are applying per porosity of the surface that they're treating.
That's the real point here, that all this label now says is what is being reflected out in the field itself. And that's how the product is being used. That is how pest controllers manage those surfaces on site. And it does a much better job of that in our opinion.
A lot of products come from agriculture and we've got to jump through many, many hoops and many hurdles. So I believe even for us just to get this wording cleaned up and the tables cleaned up, there's still a lot of things that we have to do and we need to meet certain criteria and pass through the APVMA. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That had to be some legitimate argument behind what we were trying to achieve here, and to be honest, we had to bring APVMA along for the ride to understand what we were trying to achieve and in fact just reflect what was actually being done out there.
So when we're talking about being compliant to the label, I do know, and some customers have made it clear to me, that on the old Temprid label, under precautions, we have a headline, do not apply using spraying equipment carried on the back of the user. Now, is this on the new label?
It's not, and that's the good news. Listening to our users, and indeed you said it in an earlier part of the video sequence, that users are starting to adopt backpack sprayers and that sort of technology now. And unfortunately with Temprid 75, there was a body of work that needed to be done to be able to do that. And it's all around skin sensitisation and the potential for leakage, from a backpack type piece of equipment. So we went and did the necessary amount of work, submitted to the APVMA, and yes, it's on the new label that was approved 10th February in 21. Users are probably not going to see the actual label printed on the product until the labels flush through the distribution network. But suffice to say, it is the approved label moving forward, and users now can use Temprid in backpack equipment.
Can we just discuss a bit more about the necessary work that needed to be done for that to be removed from the label? Was this a formulation change? How come Temprid 75 was the first product that had a restriction on it, not to use in backpack equipment? Yeah,
look, it really comes about the order or the sequence of the regulatory process, and that when we came in and registered Temprid 75, it constituted effectively a new product, and it fell under the new legislation and requirements by the APVMA. That brought with it some challenges, and one of those was backpack restrictions without certain types of data. Data we didn't need for say responsive beta that we used to sell many years ago, and obviously containing beta-cyclorothalin, you'd think we don't need to do that, but under the new legislation we needed to make those necessary studies available and argue why we can use Temprid 75 on backpack type situation.